question online asking for, I don't know who asked it, could you explain again the meaning of the slide where the cost optimal solution and the economist solution are considered with regard to the energy efficiency building class? So you mean in giving a reaction to the commentaries you've heard, could you possibly address that too if time permits? Thanks.
Thank you, Adrien. Alexander, can I share again the screen? Alexander? Okay, we lost Alexander.
Yes, no, you are presented now.
Okay, let me go to this slide. Okay, it's this one. Does it? This way. This way. Okay, basically.
So first, go to Quick Start and select to share again because now you.
Yeah, I have done it now. Okay. So basically, what we have here, when you calculate the cost optimum level with the current methodology and the cost input that we have, we end up that the acceptable, you could renovate your building. If you renovate your building at the cost optimum level based on the methodology and the cost we have today, you end up with your building at class C, between C and B. This is where you end up, in this red area. But in reality, this is in all countries. This is far from zero, and this is far from where we should be if we would like to meet our targets. And maybe the first thing about this slide is that the projects that are above this line, above zero, are the projects that are usually financed, that could be financed, that are considered as cost effective. And within these projects that are considered cost effective, we have the economist optimum. So this is the most important part of the renovation project fell here. And then if you go to the cost optimum level using the cost optimum methodology and the input data that are needed for this methodology, you push a little bit the energy requirements, but we are still far from where we should be, because what is below this line, what is below zero, are the projects that are currently not financed because not cost effective. And this is where we should be. From energy innovation perspective, from our targets perspective, we should be here. But in reality, we are at the best here. And according to the banks and according to different studies, reporting from member states, etc., we are very often in this here. So all this work is shallow renovation. We are far away from our targets. I hope this clarifies. I just wanted to react about one important point that was mentioned by Timothy. So the idea of providing the loans at zero interest loans is, of course, a great idea, except that I selected France as a case study because it already exists. And and this is the less successful financing scheme in France, based on the last French survey of the use of existing financing scheme, the survey called Open 2015. So we see that the most successful ones are tax credits and VAT, reduced VAT. Why? Because tax credit and reduced VAT are something that is proposed by the companies selling product or selling energy renovation services, while the loans should be sold to us by banks. Banks do not promote. There is no real promotion of these loans in France, except through these energy renovation advisors. These advisors that we have. Sorry. So I don't think saying that, based on the French case, saying that providing these loans, making sure that these loans exist, it will happen, because it's not happening. It's the less successful one. And you could see in the French National Energy Efficiency Action Plan reporting, the last version, you have the exact figure that was planned actually for these loans and what has been in practice asked for. And then there was a question about how these energy renovation advisors, how do they work? I know better the French case, actually. So originally, these advisors were funded by EU money. Actually, it was under the previous framework, what is today Horizon 2020. And then the EU funding stopped at some point. Then the government, and actually it's more the local government than the national one, has taken over to finance these advisors. So, for example, in Paris, we have l'Agence Parisienne du Climat, and l'Agence Parisienne du Climat is financed, from my understanding, by regional funding and regional actors. However, these actors, currently the energy advisors, their role is limited to providing advice. So they don't play the role of the energy innovation facilitator that exists in the case of Energy Sprong. And then I wanted to react to one remark from a representative of the Parliament. Actually, it's good that you highlighted that for part of the Parliament, stopping subsidies and putting everything together, the way it is perceived by the Parliament, by at least part of the Parliament, by the Greens, if I'm not mistaken. In reality, there is a way to convince you, and I will come back to you later, that this is the most effective and societal way to use the public funding. And it doesn't work against the society. It works in favor of the green revolution that we need. Over to you, Adrien.
Thank you, Yamina, for those reflections. I indeed see another question from the audience from Josephine Maguire. Hello, Josephine, if you're still there. Asking who provides the risk-sharing mechanism if the FC doesn't, saying financial institutions also have to borrow funds in order to avail of the risk-sharing initiative. Timothy, maybe you're best placed to answer how the SFSB wanted to address that issue.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Perhaps I just would like to react to what Yamina said about the experience in France as regard the EcoPTZ, so the zero interest rate loan that is available in France, and then the parallel that has been made with the SFSB. I mean, SFSB, when we're speaking about the guarantee mechanism, is not about a zero interest rate loan. It's about taking over the credit risk, taking over the risk of the loan. So, for instance, if a bank in France is selling a zero interest rate, where the interest rate is subsidized by the government, they're still the one taking the risk. If the people taking the loan is not reimbursing the loan. So it could also be one of the reasons why this specific scheme in France is not working, and that's also perhaps the reason why the French government has also established legally a fund guarantee for the energy renovation. So I think that's two different concepts, not to to separate the guarantee mechanism and subsidized interest rate loan. Then, as regards who is going to provide the guarantee, that's a good question, and that's exactly where we would like to use in the best possible way existing EU funds, meaning structural funds. And so Yamina displayed the case for France, this one case out of 28 member states. In other member states, the structural funds are much more prominent, and member states have much more available for energy efficiency financing. I have to remind, I think, that we've tripled the amount of funds available in the current multi-annual framework program compared to the previous one. So typically, I mean, the public money that needs to be used to provide the guarantee could come from structural funds or other type of public sources, national public funds, and as well combined with funds coming from FC.
Thank you, Timothy, for those clarifications. We are even running up now against the extended time for the event, and I see we're down to 50 or so participants. But I see on the stream of questions one that maybe a person on the panel would like to take up, the last one, which reads, when a deep renovation takes place, is it clear what part of the cost corresponds to achieving energy savings? And what about other aspects, aesthetic? Is it possible that we have high expectations for the €314 per square meter because we wrongly assume that they're spent, and I think the questioner means exclusively on energy savings, whereas of course in any construction or renovation works a part is spent also on amenity or aesthetic parts. Is there a panelist who would like to address that? Sebastian, maybe you're closest to this issue.
I'm afraid we've lost audio contact with Sebastian. Well.
Okay. Maybe Claire. Claire, from the city's perspective, are there assessments made at city level about the success of funding programs that they put in place that might take that issue into account?
Sure. I think that actually in that case, the best I can do now is to refer in our website. You can find different guides actually on soft loans and specific models to improve the financial capacity of homeowners to get into refurbishment or deep refurbishment. And it's under, you can go onto projects and you can find a lot of material under our project, which is just finished, which was called Infinite Solution. Now we are actually trying to disseminate these very, very good models. It's 2 different models adapted into 8 different contexts into a new project which is to disseminate wider, called Innovate. So if you go on our website, and I don't know if I can write actually somewhere, otherwise it's on our website under project Infinite Solution.
Thank you, Claire. That's very helpful. Well,
you can write it on the chat, and I can copy it on the screen if you want.
If I can write it on the chat.
Just do it at your own time.
Yeah, I do. Try. Yeah. Okay.
So I was saying, thank you, Claire, for that input. I think it maybe is time to draw the discussion to a close. I wonder, do any of the panelists or Yamina want to share a last thought with the audience? Just jump in if you do.
More careful, Smart Finance and for Smart Building Initiative proposal, and how to deepen the analysis that I have done with other actors, because the idea behind it is great, but as I showed, from my perspective, there are some weaknesses that we need to improve to make sure that this initiative will deliver. It's very important that the focus currently is on the legislative proposal and not on the non-legislative proposal, which is pity, but I think it's very important to focus, to look at it more carefully. Over to you.
Thank you, Yamina. Indeed, I was going to make that point to the audience that the document you've produced, and of course the Smart Finance and Smart Buildings text itself, and your presentation will all be available. Alexander will confirm in what delay, I suppose half a day, 2 days, between a half a day and 2 days from now. And I indeed wanted to invite participants to feel free to share their reflections after reading your discussion paper on their views, so that the work you've initiated can now be fine-tuned and be used to bring the Smart Finance for Smart Buildings initiative into the market, I would say, so that it can be strengthened and have the impact that we all wish it to have. It was for me the common thread that all of us see that this is a good idea. We all wanted to have an impact to increase rate and depth of renovation, but there are concerns you've raised in your research, and the Parliament has raised some concerns that we can collectively address together. So in thanking all of the panelists and the organisers of the Build Up platform, I want to thank all the participants for listening, and let's treat this as the start of a conversation, at the end of one, by inviting those participating to share what they've learned today and to contribute their thoughts and suggestions for the future. So with that, I'm going to close the webinar. thank you once again, Alexander, for the technical support. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks from my part also to everyone. I confirm that as all other Build-Up webinars, this has been recorded and will be made available on the Build-Up platform. It will be made available after the 1st of October. We have a couple of webinars now to post-produce, and we'll make them available on demand, which means you can choose which parts to watch, etc., along with the relevant presentations. Thank you again.